And we're on. Hello and welcome to podcast episode 143 of Rope Boxing. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, share and subscribe. You can see my ugly mug, Dave G, but I'm very lucky to be, have the company of one of my good boxing friends. Obviously, Mr. David Holland can't make it. If anybody watched the episode yesterday, he's still struggling in London town, working 24 hours a day. The episode last night was absolute nightmare. Glitches all over the place, weren't the best. So Mr. Sam Walker from SW Fight Hub has joined me today so we can make it even better than the shit show from last night. And I think we're going to be in for a great episode, mate. As I always call you, mate, the boxing encyclopedia, yourself, Liam and Jay. But I've called on you tonight. Thank you for saving me, brother. How the devil are you?
Absolutely no problem, all mate. Always a pleasure to be on Rope a Dope. Yeah, very well. Absolutely buzzing for this weekend, mate. How's things your way?
Yeah, we've been a bit like yourself, mate. We've been in and out with boxing. We've gone from having a very, very busy kind of June, July, so nothing in August, to going really, really busy, this weekend. I mean, there's so many fights we've kind of left out because we just haven't got the time to fit them all in. And I've obviously watched your content. You're kind of going down the same way as well. You've got to pick the kind of fights that are relevant to you and I suppose are relevant to your listeners and to your viewers, So, yeah, it's good. It's good that we're busy again. So, let's crack straight on, mate, shall we?
Yeah, man, 100%. One thing I will say before we do is that, and I feel your pain as well, but it's like, why couldn't somebody, you look at the boxing schedule for next weekend and it's hardly filled with great fights. I think Golden Boy have got one on, but, surely someone could have put something on next week. I mean, there's no clashes, obviously, but, next week we've got next to nothing. The week after, I don't think it's up to too much either. But look, that's just me being picky.
No, I think you're right, mate. Obviously, we're going to jump straight into Canelo Crawford now, which is an undisputed super fight. And then the very next day after, you've got another super fight, if you like, down in super bantamweight for undisputed. And it's not getting as much love. You're totally right. If they had him on 2 different weekends, you haven't heard about it. So you could kind of treat him individually in separate weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is, mate, as they say. So let's crack straight in, mate, for the time I've got you for. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford, Saturday night, fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. This Allianz Store arena, should I say, or stadium, 65, 70,000, whatever it is, mate. Undisputed 168 titles of the world. Canelo still the face of boxing. Many don't think he is. I personally think he is. People still come out to watch him, regardless of who he fights and where he fights. And obviously, he's up against Terence Crawford, mate, that's jumping up 2 or 3 weights, whichever way you want to look at it, from welterweight to 154 now up to 168. Doesn't know how to lose. Fights once a year, but he's pound for pound probably 1, 2, or 3 in anybody's list. Yeah. Very intriguing. When it was first announced, Sam, I think myself, and I can speak for Dave as well, and a couple of you boys were like, yeah, it's kind of just catchphrases, sound bites. It's not going to happen. It's kind of a pipe dream for Uncle Turkey, etc. Yeah. As the months have got on, it's getting closer. Not too sure. Injury, somebody's going to pull out. I've heard this rumor, I've heard that rumor. Now we're in fight week. So originally, mate, my original question really was, when it first announced, was you excited? And now it's actually happening. Are you even more excited, or are you like, wow, we're actually getting this fight, finally?
It's a good question. It's a tough question, I think, Dave. Like, when it was first announced, I think 95% of us were kind of, Canelo's too big. Like you said, it's a pipe dream. It shouldn't be happening. Crawford's a welterweight. Canelo's a super middleweight. But then when you look at them sizing each other up, and then his bud put too much weight on, is he going to be stuck in the mud? And, but now fight week's here. Of course, I've been watching all the promotional material. Of course, I'm interested to see, what does it look like? Dana White promoting his first big boxing event. There are a lot of things going on. Look, the undercard, I think, could be better, but as we'll get into, I think Mbilli Martinez is a very, very good fight. But I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, how could you not? You've got a Terence Crawford who's looking to become a 3-division undisputed world champion, jumping up 2, but really it's 3 weight divisions, isn't it? If we're being honest, he's a welterweight. And like you say, can't really imagine him losing, but then he's fighting Canelo Alvarez. Canelo hasn't looked great in the last 5 or 6 fights. However, if he's ever going to need a fight to get motivated, it's for sure this one. He can't be losing to no welterweights if you're Canelo Alvarez. So, I'm in. I have to be honest, I'm in. I've been craving some big boxing action. As we'll come on to later, I'm buzzing for Crocker Donovan too. It's just overall brilliant weekend.
Yeah, I echo everything you say there, mate. I mean, when you look at, you just mentioned about Crawford being a welterweight. When you think about it, Canelo was kind of really a welterweight himself, and now he's grown into
welterweight, didn't he?
Yeah. So he's kind of grown into the super middleweight division now. But you just mentioned about height there, I suppose, and weight. And I mean, I think reading and listening to everything that's going on between now and when it was first announced, I think Bud is walking around like a light heavyweight. So he's kind of had to turn that fat, if you like, into muscle, and he's kind of done it gradually. If you look at him about 6 months ago, you can 4 or 5 months ago, should I say, really, you can see the shoulders starting to take shape. You can see the biceps starting to slightly get bigger, and now he looks like a bit of a body Adonis. So he's put that kind of stone on, if you like, through muscle. And you just mentioned there, mate, will he be able to carry that weight up to 168? Obviously, you know, he's an elite fighter. They're doing things behind the scenes. All that stuff you see on Netflix is great. It's like the old HBO days. But the stuff there you're not seeing. There's game plans there you're not seeing. They're not going to give out the game plans and things like that. But when he does fight once a year, you can obviously elaborate on the Majimov fight, because there's people saying different theories about, did he carry the weight well? Should he have won that fight, etc. I think he's in a good place. I really do, because I think these one time he fights a year, mate, he makes them kind of special, and you really show how good he is. I know Canelo's a lot more active, but I think there's decline there, Sam. I can really see decline there. Since that Golovkin free fight, he isn't as fast anymore. He plods along. He throws single shots. The lateral movement's gone. He gets hit a lot more. Your Riders and your Charlos, you know, and your Mongias and your Belangas of the world, they look kind of more intimidated. And he kind of just does enough. There's no excitement anymore with Canelo. Now, is that a kind of ploy going forward to this Terence Crawford fight? I'm not so sure, because when he was fighting the likes of the former, this fight wasn't even mentioned. But time doesn't wait for anyone. And when it was first mentioned, you think, oh, you know, that's such a big jump even for Bud. But as it's getting closer now, and I see Crawford being bigger, being just as thick. I know Canelo's got that massive neck, and you know he's hard to stop and things like that. I can't see him getting knocked out, but I can see Bud doing an absolute masterclass in him. I really can. I'm a massive Bud fan as well, so there's going to be biased, but I think Canelo's coming to the end. Is basically what I'm trying to say. He's not the guy of 5 or 6 years ago. He's just not. And you know, the optic test tells you that. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know what you think.
Well, 100%. Well, look, you only have to look as far back as, I think it was July. Hamza Shiraz running through Edgar Berlanga like a hot knife through butter. He absolutely cleaned him, didn't he? It wasn't even close. Yes, Canelo dropped him, and you know, but I agree. I think there's two sides of the coin. I'm going to find out in the first 4 or 5 rounds in Vegas on Saturday whether Canelo really is on a decline, or whether he took a mentally different step after the Dimitri Bivol defeat, where he was just like, I'm just going to fight, and, you know, I'll take over. Like you said, the Belangas, the Munguias, the John Ryders, the Charlo, whoever he fought in these last. So basically in those fights where there was no real threat to him, he hasn't really had an opponent that, not even a 50-50. He hasn't had, these fights have been 80-20, 90-10s post Dimitri Bivol, which clearly left a scar on him. I know the cards are 1-1-5, 1-1-3. But Bivol won 9 or 10 of those rounds. He outlanded him in every round on the punch stats. So, look, I'm with you. Like, I've picked Terence Crawford to win. I have. When it first happened, I was on the Canelo. But then, like you, I've kind of analysed it. I've seen what Bud's like. And he has this stoic confidence about him, Terence Crawford, where you're like, how on earth could you pick against that man to lose a fight? And yes, he isn't as active as Canelo. He is older than Canelo in terms of age, but definitely less miles on the clock. So, for me, it's a case of, is Canelo on the decline like the eye test has told us? Or realistically, did he just need that opponent in front of him to bring out the best of him? And like I was about to say, there does seem a bit of a glimmer in him and Eddie Reynoso's. I've watched the preview shows on Netflix and that. And Eddie Hearn said he was speaking to a few that he was in Mexico for Sugar Nunez last week. He said he was chatting to a few of the connected people in the right places. So look, I'm not confident in my Crawford pick. I have to say, like, it's not. I think Crawford will school Canelo. I favour Crawford slightly, but I have noticed the odds have swung right back into a. Canelo is a slight favourite now, but when the fight was announced, he was a huge favourite. Now there's been a lot of momentum. You know, the likes of us and, you know, the boys also, Jay and Liam, think that Crawford's going to win. You know, a lot of the people inside the boxing hardcores, in my opinion, seem to think Crawford will win. Whereas the casuals, maybe that dip in and out, seems, Canelo's too big. That seems to be the consensus, I think. But Yeah, I really don't know, but I agree with you. Canelo is clearly declining. However, has he got one last big fight in him? One last big performance? You know, he's used to this stage. Terence Crawford isn't used to this stage. He's not. He's had one mega fight, hasn't he, Errol Spence? But he hasn't. Canelo Alvarez has fought Golovkin 3 times. You know, yes, Mayweather, he was a baby in the game, but he's had these big fights, and it's going to be you know, Crawford, let's be honest, he doesn't lack confidence, does he? But first, like I said, first 3 or 4 rounds, Dave, I'm going to be really interested because I think we'll know then. It's about Canelo, this, for me. It's not about Bud. I think Bud will bring it, and I think we know what he will do. You know, he's so good, and, you know, his style's all wrong for Canelo, isn't it? But
100%,
if Canelo's feet are working as he would like them to, it's going to be interesting. It really is. It really is.
It's a good point when you just said there, mate. You said, I don't know if Canelo's got one last big fight in him. I believe he's got a lot of big fights left in him in terms of the stage.
Yeah.
In terms of a fighter with the ring IQ of Terence Bud Crawford, how crazy it sounds. I know, look, Canelo's going to be a pound for pound great. He's going to go down in the history books. He'll always have that asterisk against his name. But if you analyze both fighters pound for pound, I can't see anything that Canelo does better, especially at this stage of his career. He's doing anything better.
Yeah, you're right.
And when you look at Bud, you mentioned about like your Munguias, your John Ryders, he doesn't smell blood anymore, whereas Bud does. He's spiteful. He smells blood. He'll go after you. Now, we talk about pound for pound greats and the top 3 list and things like that. Terence Bud Crawford, to me, is the only fighter. I mean, I'm just an armchair fan. I watch it week in, week out. I kind of know a little bit if that's relevant or worth anything. But I've never seen a fighter in the modern day that can switch hits and finish an opponent like Terence Crawford. He's actually better as a southpaw than he is an orthodox. Yeah. Usyk can do it, but not to that effect. Inoue can do it, but not to that effect. He's got all the skills in the build. And it's going to sound crazy as well, guys, because when we watched William Skull against Canelo, yes, Skull ran. That's no one's ever debating that. But because Bud Crawford, mate, can fight every style, if he wanted to go on the back foot and frustrate the life out of Canelo, he will throw output, but he'll have output with it as well. He knows how to get out of the way. He knows how to navigate his way round the ring. He knows how to move. He knows how to switch it. He knows how to, he knows how to pivot his feet. He can frustrate the life out of him. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll be on his back foot. I think there'll be times when he will revert to back-footed fighting, switch it in, and counter punching and things like that, catching Canelo on the way in. I just think, honestly, I think it could be a bit of a masterclass from Terence Crawford if he switched on for 36 minutes. I think Canelo gets hit so much easy than he's ever hit in his life. And that's what I was just going to go to now then. You mentioned the Bivol fight there, Sam. Judges in this fight. How many rounds does he have to win or win clearly to get a decision on a Mexican Independence weekend in Vegas? This is the talking.
It's a great debate. Yeah, it's something we spoke about the other night as well. I think it's interesting that the first variable is it's not a Canelo promoted show, essentially. I don't mean Canelo promotes his fights. PBC have done that, Matchroom, Golden Boy, whatever. But Terence Crawford is a Turkey fighter, isn't he? I know Canelo's signed with Riyadh, but Terence Crawford and Tyson Fury, I said last night, they're Turkey's favourites. We all know that he's in the Crawford camp, even though Canelo signed to him and Crawford signed to him. We all know he wants Terence Crawford to win. There's videos out there of him saying, you need to perform and this, that, and the other. He's not saying that to Canelo. Even Canelo knows as well it's business. And Turkey isn't an independent promoter. He'll let you know. He wanted Fury to beat Usyk. We know.
Hamza Shiraz and Adames. Don't forget
Hamza Shiraz. Yeah. It's a bit of it. Well, it's funny you mentioned Hamza Shiraz against Adames actually, because again, I actually said, bar that fight, the decisions have been okay on the Riyadh promoter. The Usyk Fury decisions. I thought. I mean, the cards. Sorry, rather than. I mean, Shiraz Adames. We don't need to talk about that. That was terrible. But Canelo in Vegas on Mexican Independence. It's going to be a very pro Canelo crowd. I don't know if that could potentially influence the judges, but I honestly think that Crawford's going to have to win 9 rounds. Probably similar to Dimitri Bivol. I don't know. That's speculation. I hope to God that the cards are fair. I don't care who wins, really. I like.
You're not got a dog in the fight, no?
No. I'd like Crawford to win for his legacy, to be honest, and proving, it's unprecedented, really, isn't it? The weight jump that he's doing right now. So yeah, I'd like him to win, and also think they'll run it back if Crawford wins. So yeah, I'd prefer Crawford to him. It wouldn't damage me if Canelo won or anything like that. But I do think that Crawford has to do more than, if it's a close fight, I think it'll go Canelo's way.
Yeah, and then I think we'd be sitting here, and obviously you were the boys saying, Canelo didn't win that fight, so the fans probably call for a rematch if you like, if it goes that way. But just quickly on this, because obviously we can spend hours and hours on this, but time wise we can't, so we'll have to get down to the nitty gritty and make our predictions. But just before we make the final prediction, Sam, we mentioned about pound for pound there. If Crawford does go in and take all those 4 belts away from Canelo Alvarez, jumping up X amount of weight divisions, becomes king of the castle, pound for pound, 1, 2, or 3, where does he sit in your list?
It depends how he does it. If he goes out there and stops Canelo Alvarez.
Cool. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't really think there's a debate around if he'd be pound for pound #1, because Canelo's shown in the past he's kind of unbreakable that way.
Yeah.
If he stops him, or if he 12-0s him, or whatever it may be, if he completely dominates Canelo Alvarez and doesn't give him a sniff, I think it's hard to argue against him being pound for pound #1. If he scrapes through him, then him and Usyk for me would be debatable. I have him 3 right now. Obviously, the monster's fighting MJ on Sunday as well. I just think his body of work and activity needs to be commended a little bit more than Terence Crawford. But if Crawford,
that's true. That's true.
If Crawford beats Canelo by any means, and obviously Inoue beats MJ, I think Crawford probably would go up as the best win either of them two have. But him against Usyk purely depends on the manner that he would win, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. So yeah, where are you going on Saturday night, mate? Who wins?
I've picked Crawford for a while now. I think I initially started with Canelo a while ago, but I'll stick with Crawford on points, in a close one. But I mean, look, if it's close, will he get the nod? That's the thing. But without any bad judging, Crawford on points.
Yeah, same, mate. But I think it might be quite wide.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. I think I'm a Bud fan as well, so he's going to be biased. But I do think he's caught Canelo at the right time.
Oh yeah. If he ever wanted a chance, it's now.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll be cheering for Bud Crawford, but I think it's going to be a fantastic fight, whatever. And just quickly on that, Sam, Netflix's coverage. Me and Dave spoke about when MVP done the all-female card. Their kind of camera angles and the way that it was kind of set and promoted, I thought was really good. I did enjoy the Netflix coverage, but forget the Mike Tyson and the Jake Paul one. That was a lot of teething problems. It went off, but I think they covered the boxing really well, mate. What did you think?
I think so. Even down,
boxing,
even down to the weigh-in, I thought the production on the weigh-in and everything was brilliant.
I enjoy it.
For Katie Taylor, Serrano 3. So I'm looking forward. They're obviously going to pull out all the stops, aren't they, this weekend? So I'm looking forward to even the presser tonight. It'll be, I don't know what time it'll be on, but I'm looking forward to the whole thing because there's going to be no expense spared on that.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of eyes on it, mate.
It just better not lag on I was going to say Saturday night, Sunday morning. If we get that lag, it's going to be all hell breaking.
Have you got UFC in between as well, have you? Or
well, obviously you got the Belfast card. I think what I'll probably there is UFC on, but I think I'll probably get a couple of hours, and then we're going to cover from Mbilli against Martinez.
Yeah, fair enough. I have heard that Netflix aren't showing the whole undercard, are they? So
no, 4 fights from 2 a.m. Our time they're showing. So I think it's Alakel, Turkey's guy, opening up the main card, then Mbilli, then Callum Walsh, then the main event. That's
right, because you've got Stephen Nelson, Stone Cold. He's on there. He fights.
Chuck against Adams, the rematch. Jermaine Franklin's in there somewhere.
He's back in there, yeah. So it's not a hot. It's kind of a boxing hardcore undercard, if you like. It's not one really for the casuals, but no one's there really for the undercard. They are there for the main event, but we are here for the undercard as well. Christian Mbilli versus Lester Martinez, Sam, for the WBC interim title. Now, to me, that means fuck all, because whoever wins here, if Canelo against Bud Crawford goes to a rematch, nobody's getting a chance of those belts anyway. Yeah. So this really is just keep busy really for Christian Mbilli. I've got to be totally honest, mate. I know both kids are unbeaten. somebody else got to go. I haven't seen a lot of Lester Martinez. I've got to be totally honest. I've had to go back and watch his fights because I know he fights in America. He fights on those pro box cards, or he fights on undercards. He's a Guatemalan kid. He's ranked quite high in two of the sanctioning bodies, mate. But we know a lot about Mbilli. We know he's, obviously interim champ, and he's ranked quite highly. Well, he has been in all the other sanctioning bodies. But what have you seen of Lester Martinez, mate? What do you know about him? Because I'm hearing good things of Fight Week that this could be a slip up for Mbilli.
Yeah. Look, it's I think it's a good fight. Obviously, he's part of the Bomac and Crawford setup, isn't he, Lester Martinez? Yeah. So that's I actually thought this was the co-main event until somebody told me that it's not, and then I was outraged. Yeah, I was outraged because Callum Walsh is Dana White's guy. So I thought that was the reason, but it's not. It's because Bomac obviously needs to prepare Bud for the main event in between. So obviously you can't do Martinez's corner while Bud is preparing. So I do get that. It makes sense. Both bangers, both punches. Christian Mbilli has been in by far the better competition. So he obviously starts a favourite in the matchup. But look, you don't see not that many good fighters come out of that Omaha, Nebraska setup, do you? So I've seen a couple of his fights, nothing major, nowhere near as many as I have Christian Mbilli. I wish he was fighting Pacheco. I think that's probably the clear number one contender fight in the division. But can't argue with the matchup at all, to be fair. Two undefeated guys who can both punch. My only worry for the fight is that it happens quite a lot when two undefeated punchers get in the ring and they kind of cancel each other out. It becomes a bit of a stalemate. And I kind of feel it might be like that. But look, don't want to put the kiss of death on it. Hopefully it'll be Hagler Hearns now.
Well, mate, that's what I say. Do you really think it's going to be like that? Because obviously, I again, just to reiterate, I haven't seen a huge amount of Lester Martinez, but I've gone and watched X amount of footage. And I can see faults. He kind of, if you've watched him, Sam, he comes forward, he throws a combination of 2 and 3, stops and puts his hands down. So he's open. And Christian Mbilli, as we know, there's not been a blueprint to beat him as of yet. But he throws all these wide hooks. Now, Dave's an advocate about straight down the pipe. He's got like a Mike Tyson sometimes kind of stance, but they're both so open. So I'm kind of thinking they're different to you. I think they're both very vulnerable. I think they're both, whether they both get knocked down or one of them gets stopped. I think I can see a firefight here because I've never seen Christian Mbilli on the back foot.
Yeah.
And I don't know too much about Lester Martinez. So I think it's a very intriguing fight.
Yeah, really. I hope you're right. Well, they're both really one way. So, I'm just, the amount of times I've seen it happen over recent times as well, where two huge punchers get in and they're wary of what's going on. Look, I especially Lester Martinez, I think he has to go in, and because Mbilli can box a little bit as well, to be fair, and he's proven at a certain level. Yes, he's not fought at the elite level, but he's definitely fought at a higher level than Lester Martinez. So I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely be watching it live. And the winner is probably positioned to, obviously Martinez and Crawford wouldn't fight their stablemates, but the winner is right there for the title shot, obviously being for the interim.
Yeah, it depends on old Sullivan though, doesn't it? What he's prepared to do. Because obviously Canelo kind of rules Sullivan, if you like, but that's a debate for another day.
He's not allowed in the ring after the fight, Mauricio. I've heard he's kicking up a fuss. Dana said he's not allowed in the ring, so
that's interesting. Well, reason behind it, do we know?
I can only imagine that TKO want their own titles going forward or whatever it may be. But Mauricio said, I'm bringing security and you're going to have to do something to keep me from putting my WBC on the winner. So we'll see.
Yeah. # bin the belts, man. So courageous. Anyways, prediction, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, I think Mbilli wins it on points. I do think it goes the distance. But I think he should soundly have enough. I think there's more in the repertoire. There's more experience. I do find it weird that it's over 10 rounds for an interim world championship. But I think that even more. So I mean, to be honest with you, that should favour Lester Martinez because Mbilli I think's had a couple of 12 rounders. But should have a little bit more in the tank. I think.
They spent too much money on the main event, haven't they? They can't
money can't afford 2 more rounds.
Yeah, championship rounds. I'm going to go Mbilli mid-rounds to stop Martinez for the reasons that are given. I think both of them are very vulnerable in their defence. I worry about if it goes to the later rounds because Christian Mbilli throws so many punches, even though he's quite muscle-bound, he uses a lot of oxygen and he kind of could punch himself out and get flatlined, late on. So I think he's going to throw the kitchen sink at Martinez and kind of stop him 4-5. Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
hope
go. I'm
you're
gonna go
right
round
and
5.
I'm wrong.
I just want to see a good fight. I do like Mbilli.
Me too.
As I said, I've never really seen much of Martinez. I'm not going to lie. It's not a name that's floating about. When you matchmake in a middleweight division, super middleweight division, his name never comes up. So it'd be nice to see what he's all about. But yeah, you're going for Christian Mbilli on points, and I'm going to go Christian Mbilli round 5 TKO. Right. Now, people probably think, why are you picking Callum Walsh against Fernando Vargas Jr.? For anybody that watches this or listens to this since me and Dave been doing it, we've kind of followed Callum Walsh from the start, if you like, watching him kind of improve in those New York cards under the TKO banner with Dana White, as Sam mentioned there, and Tom Loeffler. He's got better and better and better. Yes, the competition ain't great, but it's slowly stepped up. A bit like Fernando Vargas' brother, Emiliano Vargas. He's profile building, and he's stepping up gradually. Again, Fernando Vargas Jr. fighting on pro box cards, undercards. Haven't seen as much of him as I've seen the younger brother. But again, it's somebody's always got to go here, Sam. Both of them like to throw a lot of shots. Both of them are quite heavy-handed. I have got bias towards Callum Walsh because I do think he's gone from a fighter that was kind of inexperienced, would throw a couple of good shots, stand back and admire his work, and let his opponent come onto him. Now he's not doing that. Now he's kind of he's seeing blood. He's going for the kill. He's also measuring his shots a lot better. His range finding is near complete. You know, the way he moves his feet is complete. His accuracy is more complete. I think he's the better boxer, but I still think Fernando Vargas Jr. throws a lot of shots, and he's got. I wouldn't say he's got one punch power, but if you watch some of his knockouts, the one punch he lands, some of the dudes do look quite vacant. So Callum's never really been tested on the chin. So again, it's an intriguing fight, but I do edge towards Callum Walsh, mate. But yeah, Callum Walsh, Fernando Vargas Jr., what are your thoughts?
Yeah, similar to yourself, I followed Callum Walsh for a while. Obviously, me and the boys are big fans of MMA too, and Dana's been peddling that wagon for a while. His level of competition hasn't been great, if I'm being honest. Look, I don't know a whole lot about Fernando Vargas Jr. bar his surname. Obviously, I know he's sort of like 17 15 knockouts, so he can clearly punch. I know you said maybe not one punch power. Callum Walsh's got a little bit of pop himself as well. Look, I think it's set up for Walsh to have the stage to, look, Dana White's the promoter of the event. Callum Walsh is his protege, It's Fernando Vargas Jr. is got a name about him due to his surname, who he is, kind of thing.
You're building a narrative here, aren't you?
Of course. And look, anyone could see it, in my opinion. I think Callum Walsh, we don't really know his ceiling, how good he is, how good he's going to be. I think Dana kind of picked him off the back of, he had the Conor McGregor success. He's going to be my next Conor McGregor, not just because he's Irish, but I just think that was his genuine thing with it. So similar to the Mbilli and Martinez fight, really, it could either be an absolute. I don't think there's going to be any in between here where decent fight. I think it'll either be a barn burner or just one of them where it's a bit tippy tappy.
Do you not see any improvement in Callum Walsh then, Sam? Honestly,
no, I do, but I've been disappointed with the level of opposition that they've put him in, to be honest with you. I don't, I couldn't list off all the opponents. I know he fought Sutherland or something last time. He wasn't up to much. I just don't think that, he's been getting all these MSG, UFC Fight Pass main events, and he's in back home in Dublin for one of them. Like, who's he fought, though? I'm not saying that he needs to be fighting, top 5, top 10 guys. It's 154, isn't he? Super welter. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's at the world level. It's the most stacked division in the sport right now. 154. I'm not expecting him to fight Ortiz or Ennis or Madrimov, whatever it is. But for the hype that this guy's had in the circles, he's got one of the biggest names in combat sports behind him and everything. I would like to have seen him moved quicker. He's going to have even more hype and everything behind him, in my opinion, after this weekend, because of the stage that he's getting. And, if he does go out and he stops Vargas or whatever it may be, then look, the world's his oyster. But I think he's been moved too slow. Now, Freddie Roach and everybody's behind him, aren't they? He's California based. But yeah, soon there's going to be nowhere else to go but into the fire. And I don't think he's been matched well enough to be ready for that yet. But look, You look at Devin Haney and people like that, world champions at 22, 23. If you've got it, then you've got it. Moses Tama will be another one,
It's interesting you say about the previous fight about could cancel themselves out and be a bit of a stinker. These two are both southpaws.
Yeah.
So, and I think these two, I think Callum Walsh, as I said about the improvement, he does kind of think about his work more. He's not as reckless as he was in his younger days. So he could go kind of on the back foot, where Fernando Vargas Jr. might come on the front. So I could see these two cancelling himself out more than the Mbilli fight, But what worries me, Sam, as well, is Callum Walsh's last fight against Espadas, when he had a huge cut over his right eye. And I didn't think it'd be prepared or heal in time, for what was it, 4 or 5 months ago. So I kind of worry about that cut. If that opens again very early, Fernando Vargas Jr. will probably try and target that. And if it goes to the cards, if Fernando Vargas is throwing like fuck, he might pick up some of those early rounds, So he's got to be kind of careful that the shots don't land on that cut. It was absolutely huge. I mean, so that's a fear for me being a Callum Walsh fan. And obviously, I don't know if you realise, Vargas isn't ranked in any of the sanctioning bodies here. So it could be a decent cherry pick, but I don't know.
I think it is based on namesake. I just don't see how any other way around it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, go on then, make your prediction.
Yeah,
you're not very Callum Walsh. You're not a Callum Walsh fanboy, so I could get a shock here.
I am, and I like Callum Walsh, and I've watched a lot of his fights, but look, he's getting the treatment, and he's,
I understand what you're saying.
In the MMA circles, it's called the Dana White privilege. That's
and he's getting it,
amongst the UFC fighters who get favored. He is getting a lot of Dana White privilege, but for me, he's not fought and that's not me saying that he's not good enough, because he could well be good enough, but I picked him to win on points in this fight, but it wouldn't surprise me if he wins by stoppage either. But it would surprise the life out of me if Fernando Vargas wins. That's all I'll say.
So you're going points, Walsh, yeah?
I've gone points, but it wouldn't, 50-50 really. I've just picked points.
Because the whole world's watching, the whole of Ireland will be watching, those in New York and everyone on Netflix, and you just said there, everyone will be talking about him on Sunday morning. I think he's going to make a little bit of a statement, mate.
Yeah.
I know it's not against a world-class opponent, but I think he'll knock Fernando Vargas out in round 8. I think you might see it. And then hopefully, as you say, he can kick on and get a name thrown at him, and Dana White can push him, forward a bit more than what he has been. So yeah, good luck to both fighters. But yeah. Saturday night, you just said there, mate, you're looking forward to this one. Lewis Crocker versus Paddy Donovan, part 2 at Windsor Park, outside. Let's hope it doesn't rain.
Well, the forecast, one of the lads said last night, the forecast is terrible for Saturday. So I actually think that's going to add I think was it when Hay fought Chisora at West Ham, where it's absolutely lashing it. I can't,
slippery ring.
Yeah, but I think that'll add to it. Honestly, do.
Mate, yeah, it probably will. IBF world title, welterweight title on the line, should I say. Controversy after the first one. We all know about that. The Irish fans will be out in the numbers. I mean, you only got to look at Mick Condon last weekend inside the free arena. It was packed to rafters, shouting and screaming everywhere. They know how to make a good atmosphere. Do we want to go over the first fight, Sam, and your thoughts from the first time? How dominant? Well, I thought Donovan was very dominant. Yeah, go on, you take over, mate.
I was going to say, we did the watch along for the first fight, so obviously we didn't hear the bell or anything because we have to watch it on mute. So we just thought it was a clean knockout at the time, and then all the shenanigans are going on in the ring, and eventually the penny drops like something's gone on here. But yeah, I picked Crocker to win the first fight. Paddy dominated the fight. Yes, I hear what Sonny Edwards was saying earlier because I watched a bit of the presser and stuff, and he was saying,
what did he say? Kind of
like there's a variable in there that was Paddy dominating the fight because of the head and the cuts, and he wasn't suggesting that was the case, but he said, would it have been the same if the head wasn't going? Look, basically Paddy's going to have to be on full guard for whatever's happening this time, and it could mess with him a little bit. I know he's exuding confidence. He looks great all week, and Crocker doesn't look amazing body language wise, which probably fair because Paddy kind of knows what happened on the 1st of March. But
I think Lewis knows as well, mate.
Yeah, Lewis does.
Body language, yeah.
And I love Billy and everything, but I heard him say, something went wrong with Lewis on the day of the fight. You don't really want to hear that. He was soundly beaten until the DQ or whatever it was. But I've just got a feeling something weird's going to happen on Saturday. I watched the finish again yesterday or the day before, and I watched Crocker swinging for the hills off the ropes. I actually think he buzzed Donovan a little bit. I think if Lewis has just got to basically go in there, let his hands go, and accept the fact that there's a good chance he's going to get stopped. Because if he tries to box at range or does the stupid thing that he was doing in the first fight, probably not listening to this, Lewis, by the way. But, he was just going in with his hands high, wasn't he? And he wasn't really doing much. He has to go in there. He's got 20,000, probably about 500 in there for Paddy and the rest for him. Go in there and just have it. And he's got a chance. He actually has got a chance. More than likely he probably gets stopped, but he's going to lose the fight if he boxes at range, or if the only way he wins, in my opinion, is he drags Paddy into a dogfight and he clips him. Everything outside of that, the advantage is to Paddy Donovan.
I have to agree. And it's not disrespectful, mate. You're only seeing, you're commenting on what you're seeing, and I'm exactly the same. I've said on this podcast before, and I wish him the best of luck, Lewis Crocker. I will be going for Paddy. I think he's the better boxer. I do think he's a level above. But I think this division is very, very weak. I mean, you've got Rolly Marrero as a champion, Mario Barrios. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Brian Norman Jr. is a great boxer, but he's got the equalizer.
Yeah,
and then the winner of this,
number one in the division. How Brian Norman?
But mate, I don't. Lewis Crocker, for me, even though he's doing it correctly, paying his sanction and fees, getting called, whatever, that's down to the IBF. But he's not a world level fighter for me.
No,
to me, he's just out of his depth. We done a podcast yesterday where I mentioned about Pat McCormack rushing him through. Now, I think he beats Lewis Crocker, and I think he should not even bother with Conor Walker, because when I saw Conor Walker against Lewis Crocker, I know it's different fight styles, make fights and stuff like that. I thought he got away with one, and he watched his reaction on the floor. He's kind of screamed in relief. As to say, I just got past that. Yeah. And the question I'm going to ask you, mate, about, say, not being disrespectful, I think he's very one-dimensional. I think he's where he just comes forward. He's got quite a high guard, and he'll throw and does nothing more. His torso's open. Paddy he'll go to the body. He'll go to the solar plexus. He'll drop his hands. He goes to the head. It looks very easy. Now, I wish him all the best. I wish both blokes all the best. But I can see exactly the same as you. I don't think Lewis Crocker's got enough in the tank to outbox, to outthink, to outwork Paddy Donovan. And again, he's got to close the distance. He's got to make it look ugly at times. But I don't think Paddy Donovan has to do anything different. I think Lewis Crocker has to make all the changes. So I just don't think he's, at the moment, I just don't think he's a world level fighter, mate.
Yeah, and as well, it was 6 months ago. It wasn't 2-3 fights ago. It was both fighters' last fight 6 months ago. What really can change in that time? Look, the body language doesn't look great from Crocker, does it? Not that you can read into that too much. At the end of the day, they're going to go in there. They're going to have a fight on Saturday night. But
he does possess power. I'll give him that. He has got.
He does. But Paddy's he's too clean. He's too crisp.
He's too elusive. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, you're right. So we're both going to go Paddy Donovan then.
Yeah, I think Paddy stops him this time. Yeah. I do. He was on his way to doing it in March, wasn't he? But as long as he like I said earlier, I do think it's an interesting thing that Sonny was saying. If he's got it in his head about, or if the ref tells him about his head early, or if he's got it in his head, I can't do this, then that plays into Crocker's hands a little bit. And if Crocker I don't know. I wouldn't rule Lewis Crocker out, and that atmosphere, 20,000 people, pissing rain, everything like that. It's just something crazy could happen. It might be that Paddy lays Lewis out. Who knows? But yeah, the safe play is Paddy Donovan to win the fight, isn't it?
I read somewhere that this is on social media. This is the first ever All-Irish world title fight. Mm-hmm. That sounds crazy after all the years of all the great Irish fighters down the years, down the decades and the eras. It sounds crazy. But just quickly, mate, before we move over to Japan, if Paddy Donovan does win, what does he do next, or where does he go next? And the reason I ask that, because how weak the division is in terms of champions. Bar Brian Norman, he could probably get 2 or 3 belts here if Eddie Eyre loses his head and kind of
Well, Eddie's already dropping the Conor Benn sprinkle in there, isn't he? But I think Paddy's a terrible matchup for Conor Benn. Yeah,
I meant like the next Irish superstar. I didn't probably word it that well. He could be like the next Irish superstar after Katie Taylor, going and getting a few belts, then moving up again and challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. There's no where's the. I mean, look, if you're Paddy, you're wanting to fight. You know, say if Haney beats Brian Norman, you know, or Ryan Garcia or Teofimo if he moves. You know, you're looking at those fights really because that's where the money's at for you. But you know, if you can get a Barrios unification, of course you're gonna want
very
that.
winnable.
Paddy,
very winnable.
I'd deal with Barrios. He would.
Rolly's terrible.
Yeah, he'd deal with Rowley, I think, as well. I think Pat McCormack would deal with Rowley as well on that WBA route. But yeah, look, world's his oyster, if he can get it. I know we're talking about it as a foregone conclusion, but I would be surprised if Lewis Crocker wins on Saturday.
Yeah, mate. What round? Did you say a round?
I think it'll be second half of the fight. I'd be surprised if it went early. I just think that both will have a look. For you know, that atmosphere is going to be chaos and neither of them have boxed in front of anywhere near that amount of people. And there's a world title on the line as well. It adds that little bit of,
it does.
You know, and controversy in the first fight. You know, they'll want to feel their way in, I think. So, yeah, Paddy late.
Yeah, I'm going to go round 8, but you're right there, mate. About
I think that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just mentioned there about the world title. You know, you could see, you know, this is not tongue-in-cheek, knowing that there's a world title at the end, not an eliminator. You could see Lewis Crocker 2.0. He may surprise us and do something completely different. Now he knows there's that gold at the end of the rainbow, you know?
100%.
So, yeah, I look forward to that. Also, going to look forward to an undisputed fight over in Japan. Not many people are talking about it, which is absolutely crazy. And as you said, Sam, there's too much on the same kind of weekend, if you like. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. But boxing fans have been calling for this fight for ages. In terms of the division, Naoya Inoue versus MJ Akhmadaliev in Japan. I'm not even going to bother to pronounce where it is because I can't. People were saying that Inoue's been ducking MJ for ages. They had to go through some kind of not a lawsuit, but legal diseases with the WBA and things like that. Now the fight's on, but no one's kind of talking about Inoue ducking because he hasn't ducked him. It's just the way, you know, the politics work in boxing. We've got the fight. He's very active, Naoya Inoue, defending all his belts once again, and MJ is probably the best of the rest in this division. Now, before we talk about it a bit, Sam, me and David spoke about this in the past. The Marlon Tapales fight he had with Naoya Inoue. Now, if you go back and watch that fight, yes, Inoue sparks him in like he does with everybody else. But the mid rounds, there was parts in that, but Tapales kind of mixed it up. He had like an A game, a B game, a C game, and you see kind of Inoue. I've got to work this out. And Tapales had a little bit of success. So he had a bit of success, but obviously Inoue worked him out in the end. And then you see the MJ fight with Tapales, very, very close. The scorecards all over the place. But the point is, Tapales probably did enough to beat Akhmadaliev. Now, I probably read in between the lines, and I know stars make fights, but if Tapales had enough to beat MJ, I think Inoue's got more than enough to beat MJ. So I'm kind of talking in riddles here because I've just said MJ is the next best, and he should be a problem for Inoue. But he knows how to get a job done. And I just think Inoue is so kind of underrated outside of boxing fans that he'll work out the style whatever MJ brings. And it's only going to be a matter of time before MJ kind of cringes when he feels that power. Because I also think, Sam, that we talk about all these fighters. I think the biggest challenge on paper was Stephen Fulton. And in terms of these slick black Americans who's got all the skills to pay the bills, very hard to hit. He worked him out in seconds. And then obviously mid-rounds took care of him. Good night, Vienna. So I'm kind of very biased when it comes to Inoue. I think it's a good fight, but I can only see one winner. What do you take out of all that waffle I said there, mate?
No, I think you made a lot of valid points. Inoue is one of my favourite fighters as well, and for sure in the lower weight divisions, he's the king, isn't he? Look, I rate MJ. I've watched a lot of his fights. The Tapales fight, I think he was off that night. To be fair, they've come out and said he was ill, whatever. You know, whatever. I'm not, but
I don't like that. I don't like that. No,
like you lost, and it was.
He didn't look ill. He didn't look ill, Sam.
Yeah, exactly. You lost, and it was what it was, and of course, Inoue dealt with Tapales to become undisputed after that.
Yeah.
Look. I think this is a clear number one versus number two. What you said, I do think MJ's second best super bantamweight in the world right now. But and the big but here, Inoue. Okay, you look, take out the Henny and the late replacement that was meant to fight. He was meant to fight Goodman, and he fought the Korean guy in the end. You look at his run consistently through that when he was fighting Tapales, when he was fighting Stephen Fulton. The list goes on about even all the way back to Nonito Donaire, Manny Rodriguez, fought them all. MJ Akhmadaliev, his level of competition for me hasn't been, he hasn't fought any. I mean, there's not many people like Inoue, let's be honest, but he hasn't fought anybody of who can bring what Naoya Inoue can bring to the ring on Sunday. I do think that the interesting thing is he's been caught cold. He was caught cold by Lewis Neri in the first round. He was caught cold by Ramon Cardenas in the first round, both by left hands. MJ is a sniper. Look, I think he's probably, if he didn't learn his lesson from Lewis Neri, definitely would have learned his lesson from Cardenas, and maybe he was, especially against Cardenas, I think whatever. I think he overlooked him a bit.
Can I just interrupt you? That you're spot on, but if you notice, 2 times he's been down in his career, especially the first time, he's very composed.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't jump straight up and think, "Well, where am I?"
Great chin as well, and he's great chin and great powers recovery, because Lewis Neri can bang as well. Let's not get that twisted. But yeah, I think MJ will cause some issues. I do on Sunday morning. I think. Look, we're talking about Canelo Alvarez earlier, weren't we? Like, Inoue, he's into his 30s now. He's a light guy. He's fighting above his natural weight. I know he's been talking moving up to featherweight. He started at light flyweight or whatever it is. I know Manny and people like that have moved up the divisions, but I think MJ, if he's ever going to beat Inoue, now would be the time. But yeah, look, you have to favor the monster. I do actually think this one goes to the cards, but MJ's not getting a decision over Inoue, and I think there could be a knockdown or 2 potentially in Inoue's way. But again, I've just got this little itch in my head that they're
not too. Yeah, but they're not too controversial really over in Japan on the cards, are they? They're kind of fair.
No. I mean, more to the fact that I just struggle to find 7 rounds that MJ would beat. Like, if they go 12 rounds, is MJ going to win? I just don't think so. I could see him picking up 4 rounds, even 5 rounds potentially.
Oh, he's a great boxer. He's technically very, very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good boxer.
Yeah.
That's why I compared him to the Stephen Fulton.
Well, Inoue's prone. Well, I say prone. He's been down twice. He can be hurt.
I think that's the problem. The 2 times we've seen him get put down, it's like you've poked the bear.
Yeah, he's come back with a vengeance.
It's like he looks over at his dad, his trainer, and his little brother, and he looks at his, now's the time.
It almost wakes him up. Yeah.
There you go. Wakes him up, and he goes, when you feel the full force, it's like, I don't want any more of that. And then you may see Akhmadaliev run, and it's a very intriguing. It is a good fight. I mean, it's not. I've got to be honest, mate. People keep talking about the Nick Ball fight. It's getting boring for me because I've never seen. I've never seen Nick Ball or I know Inoue speaks Japanese, but it's interpreted. None of them. They're not talking about each other. So it's like it's been thrown at people. Nick Ball and Inoue. They're on different courses at the moment. The fight I think we all want to see after this one. Let's hopefully as an Inoue fan he gets through it. It's Nakatani. I think that's one of the best fights, not just in Japan but in world boxing, Sam.
Yeah, well, on the Ring magazine announced last night that Inoue will be fighting Picasso in Riyadh on December the 27th, should he get through this fight. But Adam Cattrall said a couple of months ago that Inoue and Ball, they were definitely talking for Riyadh in December. So Nakatani has been confirmed that he will be the co-main event. This is obviously all providing MJ.
Why are we having semi-finals, Sam?
Yeah. This is providing Inoue beats MJ, obviously, which is expected to do. But look, they would never have Inoue versus Nakatani in Riyadh, would they? They'd be robbing the Japanese public of the biggest fight night in their history. But look, Inoue Picasso does nothing for me, and I don't like the fights being announced. I know it's quite popular to do that now, but it normally doesn't end well. Look, Ryan Garcia and Joe Parker against Wilder are the 2 prime examples of announcing the next fight and it not working. But sometimes Canelo did it against Skull with Crawford, didn't he? Sometimes it comes off, but look, they're saying it's going to happen in 2026. Inoue Nakatani. Inoue seems to, he'll fight anybody, so I don't see why it wouldn't happen. But like, Inoue will be getting on a little bit if it's any later than next summer. So we have to see it when it's peak versus peaks. Nakatani's on this incline at the moment.
That's true.
Is Inoue getting better? I don't know about that right now. He's still.
Or is there a slight decline? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, mate. So you going for Inoue on points?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Inoue in 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inoue in 10, mate. 9 times out of 10, you're guaranteed a knockout with the monster.
Yeah,
so,
you are.
Looking forward to that one. Just before we finish over in Nicaragua, of all places, mate, I just want to go back to the Lewis Crocker Paddy Donovan fight. There's a couple of bits and pieces on the undercard. I just briefly want to mention, especially about one, because I want your thoughts. Obviously, Pat Brown's on there against someone. I've no idea who he is. He's, his profile. He's 50-1 on. Tyrone McKenna's always out in Ireland. He's on that card. And obviously, you've got a Jarko against Ishmael Davis, which would be a really good fight. I'm more interested in your thoughts on Molly McCann's debut, mate. 35 years of age. She was boxing before she went into MMA. She's a name. Making her debut. I'm not sure her opponent is, but because you're an MMA guy like your UFC, what do you think she can offer to the female game this late in her career at bantamweight? Because I'm going to throw a name at you that kind of I think is the next superstar of women's boxing. But yeah, your thoughts on Molly McCann making a debut on Saturday, mate?
Well, look. The thing is with the women's boxing, there's not many like Katie Taylors or like I'm talking genuinely popular people that could sell out an arena or whatever it may be. There's lots of good fighters, but they don't have the profile. Eddie's been quite coy in the signing of Meatball Molly McCann because she's got a huge fan base based on the work she did in the UFC. She's not a massive puncher. She's had a few decent finishes with her elbows and things like that. I think she, like you said, she definitely boxed beforehand. So look, she's
an ABA champion, wasn't she?
Yeah, ABA, yeah. She's 35 years old. She signed a 2-year, 10-fight or 8-fight deal with Matchroom.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of fights, isn't it? It's a lot of fights.
Yeah,
10 fights in 2 years.
Look, she'll win on Saturday. She's not going to be up against much, but there's a real scenario, a real world where she could pick up a version of a world championship, obviously because of the lack of depth in the division. So she's not going to be there for a long time. We don't really know how good she's going to be, but it's smart business from Eddie and Matchroom because she can sell tickets, and you just don't see that massively. She could headline in Liverpool. She wouldn't sell out the Echo maybe or the M&S, whatever it's called now. But if you put her in a world title fight and another big fight on the card, you could sell out the. I'm just throwing it out there. It wouldn't happen.
No, I understand. Yeah.
And Callum Smith against somebody, it easily sell out. So yeah, smart business all around, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's exactly what I wanted to hear, mate. Because you just said it there. She's got the profile. She can sell tickets. I think they'll match her very well. That she gets to fight for or win a version of a world title because of the small pool. But unfortunately for Molly, this is what I was kind of alluding to. At fighting at bantamweight, Eddie's got a superstar in his hands in TMA Ayton. And I think eventually they're going to have to meet. Yeah, it'll kind of on an undercard of a Liverpool, a Callum Smith or a Nick Ball or something like that. When she has to take on TMA Ayton. Now, me and Dave were super high on her after 2 fights. I think she's fantastic. I think she's the next big thing in women's boxing. Yeah. So I was kind of going down that route. She'll do so well, and then she'll bump into the next superstar, a bit like Moses Atuma. Yeah. That kind of journey. I know McCann's probably a little bit different because she's been thrown in at 35, etc. But what is your thoughts? Because I'm intrigued because Eddie's talking a lot about what she's doing in the ring. I know level of opponents, things like that. But TMA Ayton, quickly, mate, what do you make? What have you taken out? What you've seen of her so far? I think she's the full package. I really do. There's something special about this girl.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see a fighter genuinely going for the finish. Yeah, I think it was her first fight. It was a spectacular finish, wasn't it? Obviously over the 10-2, that wasn't over 10, but over the 10-2s in general in the women's game, it's just not conducive to finishes.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah. So when you get somebody who's genuinely going in there for a finish, you're automatically going to be held in higher regard because that's what we want to see, isn't it, as consumers? So yeah, look, she's 18, 19 or something like that. She 19, could be the female Moses Atama. I think.
And that's the point. Yeah. So Molly McCann against her will bring eyeballs and will sell tickets.
Yeah. Makes
they're
sense.
both on a journey, yeah. So I was kind of going down that way, but yeah. No, mate, yeah, I was just intrigued because you're a UFC guy. Just wondering what you think she can do. Yeah, definitely. Eddie's brought her in for a business sense anyway. He's a promoter who's there to make coins. So. Yeah. So lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm kind of going backwards. We're going to start on Friday night. We'll end on Friday night over in Nicaragua. The legend himself, Chocolatito Roman Gonzalez, 38 years of age now. Seems like he's 48. He's been around so long. 4-weight world champion. Having a knock in his home back in his back garden, if you like, in Nicaragua, taking on Hector Robles. I mean, mate, he fights once a year now. He's slowing down a little bit, but he's always value, isn't he? He's always valued. He always has been throughout his career. I'm looking forward to starting the weekend off watching Chocolatito, mate.
Yeah, look, I don't think Robles is up to too much, to be fair. I'd add a little look, but Chocolatito's earned the right to do what he wants. He's been through war after war after war, hasn't he, in his career? So he's fighting at home. You know, he deserves it. I'm sure. You know, he's going to go down in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he is inducted, but he definitely will be inducted.
Oh, should be. Yeah.
So yeah, you know, good luck to him. You know, I like that he's fighting a certain level of opposition and he's not fighting, you know, the top guys in the division, because that would.
That was my next question. That was my next question.
Well, look, could be a point where the payday's coming, isn't it? But you know, they were talking about him for BAM, weren't they, at some point? But I wouldn't like to. You know, it's just a legend. It's just killing off the legend, isn't it? At the end of the day,
you've taken the words. That was literally what I was.
What to do it. Well, Daenerys did it, didn't he? Daenerys come back out of retirement and he won, didn't he, for interim world title the other week or something?
Yeah, you're right. That's a couple months ago. Yeah. But yeah, you kind of nailed it with Robles. This is probably a showcase fight for him for the hometown fans, putting a bit of showing either dominant or stop. But it is Bam's become the legend killer, if you like. He's done the Quadros, he's done the Estrada, he's done the Runga side. Obviously, Chocolatito's been in with all of them. He had the trilogy, didn't he, with Estrada? He lost twice to Runga side, beat Quadros. The only one left for Bam is Chocolatito. Now, I'm in the same camp as you. To watch him get smashed and destroyed by Bam Rodriguez would be kind of upsetting, if you like. But do you not think Bam kind of needs the quartet of those legends?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's a hard one. And he just said there, payday. Bam versus Chocolatito, still, for us as boxing fans in the lower weights, it's still it's kind of a super fight, because there's still something left for Chocolatito at 38. Yeah. It could still cause problems to anybody, you know. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Bam, well, he should get through Puma Martinez in November, but has he got bigger fish to fry? Does he want to inject himself into that Junto Nakatani and Inoue conversation, keep moving up the weights? We'll see, but I wouldn't rule it out at all.
Yeah. So fair enough, mate. So Friday night, is he rolling back the years, or is Hector Robles going to be the first shock of the weekend, mate?
Yeah, no, Chocolatito will win. I've actually done something on this, and now I can't even remember what outcome I predicted, so I don't want to make myself look silly. But I'm pretty sure I said stoppage. So I'll go with that. But I'll have to rewatch what I said. Now it was last week. Lots happened, but he's going to win, isn't he? Let's be honest.
If he loses, Sam, possibly to this level of opponent, it's possibly time to hang the gloves up.
Time to jacket.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll probably go stoppage as well, mate. Putting a bit of a show. He's only 8 fought this year. There might be a little bit of ring rust there. He's a year older now. Yeah. So round 8. I'll go for round 8. Bit of a stoppage to start the weekend off, mate. So I think that's on about 3 a.m, guys, on Friday night going into Saturday morning. Last time I saw Sam, it was available on YouTube, which is good for us here in the UK.
That is good, yeah. Well, speaking of broadcasters, it's disgraceful that we haven't got any Inoue MJ broadcaster yet in the UK. Obviously, Top Rank do not have a broadcaster at all. Sky Sports used to get the feed of their fights into the UK. MJ is a Matchroom fighter, Matchroom exclusive to DAZN. I don't know if there's a deal that can be done there, but how that fight isn't sewn up yet with 3 days to go.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's embarrassing and it's a concern. So hopefully the right thing can be done between now and then, because if we're not able to watch that, then these broadcasters seriously need to, and promoters as well, need to have a look at themselves, because that'd be painful.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because last week we spoke about Oscar Valdez fighting in Mexico. Obviously, he's a top-ranked fighter. Yeah. Trying to watch it live at work kind of thing. Couldn't find a channel whatsoever. So I had to watch it the next morning on Box Azteca. So, trying to find a channel. It's going to be it's probably going to be on like a Rising, isn't it? On in Japan, you know that.
I think
so, Rising?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's Rakuten or something.
That's it. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully we get some news in the next 24 hours or so, because it would be a crying shame if we can't watch that.
No, I don't want to see updates on Twitter. It's going to be like, let's be honest. I don't care what we say on there. It's going to be a fire stick job, isn't it? If you can't get it on pay-per-view anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, mate, Triller are normally pretty good. 2 days notice. They used to pop up and you
Fight
find
TV as well is another one. Isn't it? They sometimes pick them up, but yeah, hopefully, I'm sure there's discussions going on as we speak about it. So yeah, hopefully we can get it, mate.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. So yeah, that's an hour, mate. I've had you longer than what I hoped for, so thanks for that. If you any shout outs, mate, of your recordings going forward, I think you're doing some live. So where can people find you, mate?
Yeah, the SW Fight Hub, myself, Jay, Liam, we do. I say we do it most weeks. We haven't done it in a while now because there hasn't been anything on, as we said earlier. But yeah, we do the live watch-alongs, No Punches Pulled podcast. We do predictions. I do my own things on there as well. So yeah, if anyone's watching and would like to find out more over there, SW Fight Hub, that would be brilliant. And thanks for having me, Dave. Really enjoyed it, mate, as always.
No, thank you. And people, do tune into Sam's stuff, because he will tell you himself on a Saturday night going into Sunday morning. I'm at work, so I can't always get a stream, but when I can, I normally jump in and listen to Sam, Liam, and Jay. Best in the business for commentary. They let you know what's going on all the time. There's a bit of laughs and banter in there as well. Really, really enjoy your work, mate. So keep it up. I enjoy the content.
Appreciate that, and likewise to you and Dave as well, mate. Top man.
Jumping, mate. All right, then. So that's the end of episode 143. People, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back on Monday, hopefully. That's if Dave's not working 24 hours a day. But we will be back sometime next week. If not, I'll have to pull in the boxing encyclopedia himself there, Mr. Sam Walker, to come and bail me out. Till then, take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the boxing. Yeah. Sam, take care, mate. Thanks again.
You too, Dave. Cheers.
So, apologies, I can't make the show tonight because I'm working nights again. And apologies for the episode yesterday where I tried to make an effort. Signal let me down. I was trying to do it through in the car, tried to pull up everywhere in the and pull up and try and make the episode happen. We kept dipping in and out, made it a bit of a poor episode, and I apologise for that. That was all my fault, and apologies to Dave as well, who puts a lot of effort in and had to do it by himself. So I'm going to do my predictions for this week's boxing, and to be fair, I've not been a massive fan of this fight in the lead up to this with Canelo Crawford. I've always sort of poo-pooed it. I always thought size would be a factor. We've seen before in other fighters when they move up in 2 weights. Kell Brook's done it against Triple G. Amir Khan got splattered by Canelo when he tried to do it. Never seems to work out for me. I like the weights to stay at their weight, unless they're big lumps. Like you've got Benavidez, who was big for super middleweights, gone up, etc. Callum Smith, lots of guys. But I'm really up for this fight, Canelo Crawford. I really am. I've watched a bit of build-up. There's a couple of episodes of like behind-the-scenes sort of stuff on Netflix. I've watched that. They got the juices flowing, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm surprising myself with that because I wasn't into it all the lead up to it. Didn't fancy it, but now it's coming round, and I'm really excited. And I'm gutted that I couldn't do a full episode for this. But onto the fight. I think timing's everything now. People seem to forget that Crawford's nearly 38 years old. You expect him to be the younger, fresher. And I would say he is. Terence Crawford, he fights once a year. He's not very active. So miles on the clock between the two fighters. I think that, Canelo definitely has miles on the clock. He started his career at 15. He's been in huge fights. He fights at least twice a year, Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day, which is this weekend. So he's a lot more active. There's a lot more miles on the clock. And to me, we've spoken about this before, me and Dave, his feet are a lot slower now. He does plod in fights. Listen, he's got a granite chin. He throws, his combinations are class. His defense is amazing. But then you can see, I'm not saying decline, but you can see a slowness in his work now. And I think for me, that's going to be the difference in this fight. I think that the sharper, crisper shots are going to come from Terence Crawford. I think he's going to beat Canelo to the punch. He's going to offset Canelo. So Canelo's got like a bit like what Bivol done. Bivol offset Canelo in his fight, which meant he had to reset himself and try and get his shots off. So he was always beaten to the punch, And I think that Terence Crawford's going to do the same thing, the same tactic. But I also think Terence Crawford is a dog. You know, he's a determined, stubborn fighter who will stand in the centre of the ring and trade. I honestly believe he will. He's grown into the weight for me. He looks huge. He looks like he's a fully fledged super middle. And yeah, and for me, it's an exciting fight. I cannot wait. But for me, I think that Terence Crawford is going to become undisputed at 3 weights. And I think that Terence Crawford will beat Canelo Alvarez on points. So, but again, can't wait. Next on the bill, an amazing fight, I believe. I think this is going to be a shootout between Christian Mbilli and Martinez. From what I've seen of him, I've seen lots of Mbilli, but what I've seen of Martinez, he's a dog. Again, I just said it there. He is, he comes forward, he throws lots of shots, he likes to get into a brawl. Pretty much what Mbilli does. I think this is a shootout. And I'm looking forward to this. This for me is a real good co-main event here. I think that this is going to get the juices flowing for the main event. You know what you're going to get with Christian Mbilli. He goes forward, he throws lots of shots. I've always stated that he's open through the centre, but I think in his last couple of fights he's tightened his defence up. I think he's very compact in what he does. I want to see what it's like when he's on the back foot. You've never seen him on the back foot, and when someone's putting the type of pressure he puts on a fight on him. I think Martinez is going to have his moments in this fight. I think he's going to be asked questions in Mbilli. I think he's going to be. This could be the fight where he's pushed back for me and asked questions. And this is where you're going to see, because it's all well and good when you're on the front foot and you have everything your way. It's going to be determine what type of fighter he is when he has to take a backward step, when his back's on the ropes. So I'm really excited for this fight. I really, really am. But I'm going to lean to Mbilli. I like Mbilli. And I'm going to lean to Mbilli for a really, really tight, close fight. But I think he's going to wear him down late. I'm going to go for Mbilli to stop Martinez in round 11. Next on the card is Callum Walsh. I should have really picked him as my prospect of the year, but I went for Junaid Boston, who has not been active at all. I think he's out soon, but we're coming into October now. So and he's I'm going to fail in the prospects of the year this year. But Callum Walsh is exciting, and this looks to be, looking at the records this looks to be a good fight. Again, I've looked at Vargas's opponents. He's KO'd, I think, 13 out of 15 opponents. He looks like he can definitely punch. So this fight looks to be a step up. Now, the question marks are, is Vargas's record padded? I've not heard of him before. But I hope that this is a test for Callum Walsh. Callum Walsh so far has done absolutely everything that he should do. He's looked good. Because he's Irish and he's with Dana White. The comparisons are there for Conor McGregor, but in boxing, he rocks the mic. He's got the lot. And for me, he's like the golden boy of their camps, of what they're trying to achieve. So I'm hoping this is a really good fight. And looking at the records, they can be padded. They can give a false narrative, but I hope it's a really good fight. I want it to be a really good fight, and I think it will be. But I think Callum Walsh is going to come through this. I think again he may be asked questions, and I hope he is. I'm going to go for Callum Walsh to win by KO in round number 9. Next, a rematch of a really good fight, controversial. It was the punch was after the bell. It's Crocker versus Donovan. Really good all-Irish affair. It's for a world title. We've questioned that. Should it be? I don't believe so, but that's what promoters are there for. Get your fighters the best fights, the best opportunities. And listen, fair play to both of them. They can take that to the grave now. They fought for a world title, win or lose, and it's an amazing achievement. So fair play to both, and I believe they're really going to put on a show. Again, I enjoyed the first fight. It was skill versus will, and yeah, it had a lot. It had controversy, and there's now a rematch. There's a world title on the line. It's got everything. For me, Paddy Donovan is the better boxer than Lewis Crocker. And I think for me on Saturday night, that's going to show. And I think that now they've shared the ring, they've had their ups and downs. They've, the controversy with the stoppage after the bell for Donovan, who actually stopped Lewis Crocker. But if you're punching after the bell, and it was a little bit after, I have to admit, these things happen. But he's got the time now. He's got the redemption is here, and I think he's going to look better this time. I've said it to Dave earlier on. I think that Paddy Donovan will put on a show. This is where the time to step up. When the world title's on the line, it gives you that extra boost. He knows what to expect now, and I think he's going to do a better job on Lewis Crocker. And for me, Paddy Donovan becomes world champion on Saturday night with a stoppage in round number 8. Next up, it's Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, as he's well known, against Rebels. Again, looked at his record. This is a tick-over fight for me. This is a taking off the cobwebs, ring rust, and it's not really much you can sort of say about it. It's getting Chocolatito out. There's no jeopardy here that he's going to lose for me. I think he's going to go through the gears pretty early doors, and he's going to take this guy out. This guy's got his record suggests that he's not a puncher, and he's been stopped 3 times in his 4 losses, I believe. So for me, it only goes one way, and it's Roman Gonzalez to win by knockout in round number 3. Next up and last up is a super fight. It's the fight we've all called for Inoue to have for quite a while, and it's come round now, and it's Naoya Inoue versus MJ Akhmadaliev. Dave's going to be surprised that I got that right. Great fight. Great fight. This is the fight that we wanted for Inoue. We wanted to see Inoue tested. We wanted the biggest names in his division. MJ is certainly one of them. And this is going to be a cracking fight. MJ comes forward. He throws lots of shots. He's game. He's been beaten once, but that doesn't. That was a few fights ago. It was against a legit opponent, one who Inoue has beaten, and this is going to be a great fight. This is. I can see Inoue starting a bit slow. I think Akhmadaliev is going to have his moments early on. I think he's going to start fast. I think he's going to come out, and I think it's going to take Naoya Inoue. I think Naoya Inoue is going to take some rounds to download. And once he does download, I think that's when the monster's going to take over the fight. This is a hard one to call, but that's what I'm here to do, and I'm going to do it. I don't think there's going to be a stoppage in this fight, but I do think that Naoya Inoue is going to be a clear winner. So for me, Naoya Inoue is going to be tested early doors. I think this is going to be a close fight, probably to the halfway stage. But for me, Naoya Inoue will win on points and cement his legacy. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week for a full episode where I'm back. Thanks. Good luck. Enjoy the boxing.
Before I forget, I didn't mention it on that episode there with Mr. Sam Walker. Mine and Dave's prediction league results, where we stand, so we know exactly where we stand going into next week. So the prediction league, as it was last weekend, was 14-11 in favour of Mr. Holland. So here are the results. So last week we had Mick Conlan against Jack Bateson. We both went for Mick Conlan on points, so that was 3 points apiece there. Charlie Edwards versus Juarez. We both went for Charlie on points, so there was another 3 points there. Pat McCormack against Para. We both went for Pat McCormack by KO. I went for round 6. Dave went for round 5. Para was pulled out in round 9, but we still pick up 3 points there. Sandy Ryan against Jade Grierson. We both went for Sandy by stoppage. That went distance, so we picked up 1 point apiece there. And our new podcast favourite, Tia Maya Ayton versus Lydie Bilac from France. We both obviously went for KOs for Ayton. I said 3. Dave said 2. Tia did it in 4. Again, it's a lovely 3 points each for us there. Sugar Nunes versus Diaz. Clearly, we both went for the knockout. It didn't come. It went the distance, but we both picked a point there. No, we didn't. Tell a lie. Yes, we did. Yes, I did. Sorry. Messy writing again. Those of you that watch on a regular basis know I'm always say about my writing's a mess. Yes, he did win. It wasn't a draw. It says 1 point apiece there. Excusez-moi. Oscar Valdez against Medina. We both went for Valdez on points. So there's another 3 points apiece there. So if you can kind of keep up with me, I know I fucked up a little bit there. The scores on the doors were myself 17, Mr. Holland 17. So when it's a draw, we kind of leave it null and void. So the scores going into next weekend's round of boxing is still the same. Miss Dave G 11, Mr. Holland 14. And to finish off on the winners' weekly wager, last weekend there was £102 in the pot. I won the previous week, so I had the chance to pick the banker of the week. I went for TMA at Ayton to destroy her opponent in 3 rounds. She did it in 4. But it still made us 3 points. Obviously, we double the 3 points to make it 6, and we turn it into pounds, which makes it £6. And that £6 is added to the £102 pot. Going into this weekend, there's £108 for the charity of your choice. So as me and Dave both drew, we come to the conclusion that we'll both pick the same fighter for the banker of the week. Now, we tossed it up between Paddy Donovan and Chocolatito. We went for Paddy Donovan. We both said he's going to kind of do it in style this time. And we've both gone for Paddy Donovan to knock out Lewis Crocker in round number 8. So, yeah, just thought I'd add that in. So I'll be seeing you guys on Monday, hopefully, when we bring you all the reviews and a bit of David McDonald, which I haven't done for some time. Let's get back to some normality. So again, I know I've just said goodbye in the episode, but do have a great weekend. Enjoy the bloody boxing and stay safe as always. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Peace out, masses. Take care.